Hello. So I wanted to get on and do a video about my life since I decided to leave, like a quick recap of my life in and how my life has been since I left. Because when you are a witness, they teach you this whole brainwashing trick of that if you leave, your life is going to be nothing but drugs and alcohol, rampant immorality, that you are going to live this life of debauchery and that your life is just going to be miserable and awful when you're not a witness. Like, it's not true. If you want to live a crazy sex, alcohol, drugs life, you can, but you don't have to. And even if you choose that lifestyle, if it's what you want, it is what it is. They don't get to dictate or rule your life anymore. Once you say goodbye to them, they're done. They don't have control over you anymore. They think they do, but they don't. So, I was born and raised in, like, my parents were not. They joined the cult. They still don't believe it's a cult. My dad, I hope one day he do, but as of right now, they're both in. And they had all of us raised, taught that this is the only way of life. So we got baptized at very young ages. My brother was the youngest. I believe he was 9 or 10, somewhere in there. He's 5 years younger than me, and I was baptized when I was 14. And he got baptized, I believe, that following fall. So when you are born in, you have you really don't have an option about getting baptized or not. You're expected to. It's more of a matter of when than a matter of if. So I got baptized. I tried to be a very good witness. You cannot be a perfect witness. Nobody's perfect. But I was as good of a witness as I could have been. I tried really hard. I pioneered. I got into trouble once, and it was I'm ashamed to say it was pathetic. The reason I got in trouble, it wasn't even anything good. It was just something I sent a picture to somebody that was a little risque. And by my standards today, it was very, just not risque at all. It was stupid, and I felt so guilty about it and so bad that I confessed, and I got reproved because I sent a risque photo to somebody. That's pathetic that they can make me feel that bad, but whatever. So I ended up getting married and I pioneered and was in the cult. And then one day my brother's like, this cult, can't be in it anymore, and I'm having a hard time because I don't want to lose everybody, but I also can't be in this cult. And at the time I was devastated. If you are a witness or have been or are really close with people that were witnesses at one point in time, you know that it would almost be preferable to be shot than to hear someone you love is no longer going to be in that. It basically it was that devastating. Because here is my brother, person I'm really close with, or thought I was at the time. And he's telling me, hey, I'm gonna be kicked out. You're not gonna be allowed to talk to me anymore. Are you gonna shun me? He asked me. I'm gonna leave. Are you going to shun me? And my first response is, well, I have to follow what Jehovah wants me to do. But I couldn't shun you. I can't do that. I just can't. Because he's my brother. And I don't know. For me, even shunning my sisters because they got disfellowship when I was really young. And I did shun them. Not as hardcore as some of the people I've shunned. And I feel very ashamed of the fact that I did. shunning is a horrible thing and you shouldn't do it. But I shunned my sisters. I mean, I'd still talk to them and stuff, but I wouldn't go hang out with them or even eat with them while they weren't witnesses because, you're not allowed to. But I don't know, something about with my brother when he told me, it just clicked and I couldn't do it. And so I was like, okay, why do you want to leave? Like, what is it you've seen that makes you think that this is a cult? Like, what are you talking about? And we watched YouTube videos together about the truth about the truth and the fact that it is a cult. And all the teachings are just arbitrary, and there's a secret handbook that the elders have. And no, it is not the God's Love book. It is the Shepherd the Flock book. And if you can read it, which anyone can because it's on it's on the internet, you can download a free copy and read it. And all these laws, when you're a witness, they dictate your life. What you can get disfellowship for, what you can get reproved for. It's all in the handbook. And you're not allowed to see it. If you're a witness, a sister, anyone but an elder is not allowed to read the book. So you don't really know what the laws are of what you could or could not get disfellowshipped. It's all in there, but you're not allowed to see it. So finding out about that was really, it made me angry to know that existed and I wasn't allowed to see it. So there's a lot of things that I found out, and honestly, reading that with my brother and watching these videos and having conversations about it, genuine honest conversations, one-on-one talking, sharing viewpoints. That was the first time I really got to know my brother. And that's sad because I thought we were close. I really did. But I have realized and accepted the fact that I had no idea who he was until we left. And that's just messed up and wrong. That you can't even be close with your siblings or know who they are and what they're thinking because you have to hide behind a witness filter so you don't get in trouble. That's wrong. You should be able to know your family and have honest conversations and talk about, I'm sorry, when I get passionate, my pronunciation goes down the toilet, and I'm sorry. But it's frustrating, because, I thought, I knew my family, but I didn't. So anyway, started watching the YouTube videos, found out I was in a cult, decided to leave. Wasn't that simple, because like I said, was married. It was not a good marriage. So I stupidly tried to clue him in on the fact that this is a cult and I don't want to be in it anymore. I straight up told him, this cult, don't want to be in it. He freaked out, called the elders, called my parents, which he never called my parents. He did not have a relationship with my family. We barely got to see my family because he didn't care for them. He thought they were a bad influence on me. So I wasn't allowed to be close with my family. And I hated that because they were all witnesses. He was a ministerial servant at the time. But they weren't a good influence on me. So I wasn't allowed to be around them. It wasn't a good thing. Just not a good thing. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just done with this. I'm done with you. I'm done with the religion. And I left. I got in my car and I was like, this is done. You have 24 hours to do something about it. And he didn't. So I'm like, okay, I'm really done now. I'm getting a divorce. And he I didn't tell him he had 24 hours because I figure if you can't figure that out on your own, then there's no help for you. uh, so like, I left, decided to get a divorce. Nobody told me not to. Like, they encouraged me to work things out because that's what they do as witnesses. It was way past the point of working things out. It was just it was mentally and all other terms just not, it was abusive and it wasn't good, and I didn't want to put up with it anymore. And when I learned that I didn't have to, well, I wasn't going to. Once you give someone or show someone that they can have freedom and don't have to be treated like crap anymore, they're not going to keep being treated like crap. That's why the society doesn't want you to look into things or find stuff, because when you realize, hey, I can live my life in a good way, they don't like that. But anyway, so I left. I tried, like, my brother it was so funny. We got to my sister's house and we had to go to a meeting because they're witnesses. So when we were staying with them, it was like, you have to like put up a front and act like you're gonna be a witness. And he's like, I didn't bring my meeting clothes because we weren't gonna go to the meetings anymore. I'm like, I know, but we have to. So poor kid. So we went to the meetings, and I have the biggest respect for those who are physically and mentally out. I don't know how you can do it. I couldn't. I tried for 2 months, and it was torture. So, moved back up with my parents, which anyone knows, that is like the biggest feeling of failing as an adult when you have to move back in with your parents. Not because you want to, not because you want to help them out, but because you don't have any other option. So, hugest point of failing in my life was moving back in. Because I felt like, that's it. I just completely failed at being a human. That hurt. So I moved back in, and I was living at home. My parents are both in. They're still in. And they were like really pushing it at the time. Like my dad, not so much. My dad, with everything that happened to me that he found out when I left, he had like a really hard time reconciling this in his head, with this being the truth and the fact that I was treated the way I was. But my mom was like so gung-ho on the religion, and just like, you either, when something tragic happens in your life, you go way off in the deep end of being religious, or you kind of slack back. My mom went way off in the deep end. She's praying all the time, and I know you physically and mentally out people can understand how hard and the mental torture it is when you're waking up and you've got someone in the background blaring Kingdom melodies and the broadcast and just praying out loud and singing out loud all the time. It's so hard. Oh my God, is it so hard? It was frustrating. So, about this time, I ended up meeting somebody. Like, I was going through the process of getting my divorce. My ex drug it out. I don't know why, but he did. More power to him. Yay. So I ended up meeting somebody, and I really like this person. I love him. He's pretty awesome. So, and he was just like the best person for me to know at this time, because it's so hard when you decide to leave. It's frustrating, and he went through it. he'd been out for 8 years, and we just, started talking, and I knew right away that I liked this person. And he helped me out a lot with figuring out life outside. And just on those days where you cannot deal with life, he was there for me. Still here for me all the time. Like, I have a meltdown, I'm just like, I just miss everyone. And he's like, I know. I get it. Or frustrated because you leave and you feel like you're constantly catching up. You're constantly playing catch up on everybody. And it's frustrating because you spent so much of your life in there, not knowing who you were, not going after things you wanted to go after, that now you feel like you're behind everybody and you're constantly trying to catch up. That is upsetting. And he's just like, yeah, I get it. If you're one of those people who's out and you're wondering about whether or not you should date somebody who used to be a witness to, and you're both, well, you have a lot of history together. I'm not saying you should, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you have a lot in common and you'll know exactly what you're dealing with. And it's kind of nice to not have to explain things or mental roadblocks you might be going through, like stuff you just can't explain. They get it. And I know a lot of people who are dating people and are with people who are never a witness, and that works out great. So you can't go wrong. Either way, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And just happy that I'm with the person I'm with. So I ended up leaving, like officially left, moved and stayed with a family, my grandma, who I had never got to know. When I remember seeing her a handful of times growing up, and that's disgusting because she didn't live that far away. And I wanted nothing more in my life than to have a big family. But I couldn't have it because they weren't in the truth. They weren't in the cult, so I didn't get to know them. I wasn't ever able to be around my family. Whenever I was, it was with my parents. It was monitored short visits. Because you weren't, like, they didn't want me getting into the world. And so even as an adult, when I went to visit, it was like short, very brief, never really got any genuine communication or family time, honestly. And that was sad. So I got to make up for it. I went and stayed with my grandma for a while and just got to know who she was as a person, who my mom was before she ended up joining the cult, the kind of woman she used to be. And I was so angry with her because she was this strong, independent woman and she joined the cult. I'm like, how do you do that? How do you go from being this strong, independent, nobody can tell you what to do person to in this cult that destroys and ruins your children, destroys your family, destroys who you are? Like, my mom now, compared to the woman my grandmother talks about, are totally different people. And it's upsetting because I know she can still be that person. She could still be this, like, awesome, independent, free-thinking, spirited person. But she can't because she decided to join a cult and she had to give herself up. And it's upsetting because she will live her life out in a cult, never being able to be herself. And I'm so mad. I'm so mad at her. I'm like, why did you do that? My grandma she's very religious. My grandma goes to church all the time. This not going to church is just driving her nuts. But we were talking and it's like, so my grandma raised my mom religious. But in their religion, they were able to go to, like, camp and have fun and do like these social fun activities that you don't get to do. Like, I mean, they go to church and the kids don't have to sit through a boring service. They can go play and paint and be kids. They don't have to sit there quietly and just shut up and listen, and you can't even draw during the meeting. You have to be paying attention. Like, they didn't have to do that. They got to have fun. And I was like, what? And I would talk to my grandma about her church versus my church, and I don't want anything to do with any church. I'm good. Religion, I'm just done with it. Like, it's one of the things I left. I have no desire to be a part of any religion. But when I was talking with my grandma about it, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. She left this, which is fun, for the cult, which is not fun. What is wrong with you? I was so mad. I mean, like, I'm getting over it, but I was really angry. So, which is dumb, but it is what it is. So, like, did that for a while, and then I ended up moving in with my boyfriend, and I'm really happy with him. And don't get me wrong, we're people. We drive each other crazy, but I'm happy that I'm here. And, you know, life is what it is. It's a good thing. I get to be me. We get to figure out life and have conversations and get to know each other and talk. Like, genuinely talk. Just say what we're thinking, get frustrated with each other, and that's okay. We get to be different people. If I don't like something, I can tell him, and I don't have to just go with it and smile. I can be like, this is shit, I'm mad, and I'm not dealing with it. We had a point in our relationship where I did that. I was really angry, and because being in the cult, I couldn't express myself like a normal human being. I couldn't talk about things that were frustrating me. I just bottled it up and bottled it up. And I let it out in a very unhealthy way. I was like, well, I'm leaving, I'm mad, I'm never dealing with this again. It's not good, because when you don't tell somebody there's a problem in the first place, they can't fix it, they can't do anything about it if you don't talk to them. But because of being in the cult, I didn't know how to talk. I still don't know how to talk. So I was all frustrated, and that wasn't a good way to handle things. But I worked through it. We worked through it. We talked about it. We were like, okay, bottling everything up is really unhealthy. Talk about what's bothering you. We can work on it, and we can fix things. So I did, and we worked it out, and I'm really glad I worked it out with him. And it wasn't even any big thing. It was just something that you need to talk about. And because of the cult, I didn't know how to talk about things. I just kept it to myself. And so that wasn't healthy. Learning a lot of healthy techniques about talking and just dealing with things and not keeping it to yourself. Because that's like a major thing when you're in the cult. You just keep everything inside. If you're not happy, too bad. This is the best life ever. Be happy. Be peppy. Be upbeat. Smile all the time. You can't look gloomy. That was hard. That was a hard image to maintain. And I couldn't. And I don't have to anymore. I can be me. If I'm moody, I can be moody. It's okay. It's allowed. So, that's where I am now. I'm figuring out how to talk to people, how to communicate problems, how to be an adult. It's a life. It's frustrating, but it's mine. It's authentic. I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not. I don't have to act like I'm happy if I'm not happy. If I don't like something, I can be honest about it, and we can work and change it and make it something better. And I guess that's what I want to say to you guys, is that you can live your authentic life. You don't have to live a cookie cutter role that someone picked out for you and forced you to play. You don't have to do that. It's going to be hard. It's going to be scary. And you're going to cry a ton because you don't get it right every time. It takes practice. It takes work. It is not easy. So I'm not going to paint it as this beautiful, easy thing because it's not. It's hard work. It is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It is worth every ounce of work. It is worth all the tears. It's worth the frustration, the feeling of inadequacy, the feeling of playing catch up with everybody. It's worth it. Because it's yours. And it's how you want to live. It's true to who you are. And that makes it worth all the frustration of getting there. The fact that you get to live your authentic life, that's something that you can't put a price on. And I would urge you to think about it. Just think about, what you're missing out on by living something that's not you. Thanks, guys.